So, guys, we can start now.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the webinar hosted by MSDA in partnership with ENY. I'll introduce you to our panelists who are here today. We start off with Mr. Chaitanya Seth. Chaitanya is the partner for real estate with ENY Business Advisory Vertical. He was previously a partner with IBM, leading the EPC and real estate teams, where he has spent close to 13 years. At IBM, Chaitanya was also the global SME for real estate. He has worked to create and implement the digital transformation agenda at over 30 plus real estate clients. He has personally worked with developers across India such as Lodha, Godrej, Kalpataru, Chandak, Runwal, and quite a few others over a career spanning over 15 years. Chaitanya, welcome. Our second speaker today is Ms. Upasna Wahi. She is Manager Advisory Services ENY. Upasna is currently working as manager at real estate focused IT transformation team with ENY Advisory Services. She has developed domain expertise in marketing strategy, digital user experiences, digital marketing, design thinking, and market research over the last 10 years. So our esteemed panel is going to talk to us about how we can use digital medium to sell more and sell faster and sell better. So as everybody here knows, MSDA is an association of developers from the western suburbs, central suburbs of Mumbai. And the goal of MSDA is to make the experience of real estate a much better one. So I won't take much of your time and I will let Chaitanya take over from here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Karan. Thank you very much. And it's a privilege and honor to be present here and share our thoughts and experiences with you. So, Upasna, if you can just flash the presentation. So yeah, so I think very rightly pointed out that in today's environment, I think selling is the key for us as a developer, as a community, and selling more, selling better, and selling faster is one of the key agenda, which is one of the most important challenge and thinking point right now. And we believe that there are a lot of initiatives from a digital perspective which can be brought in, and I will talk about a few of them today. And one key thing which we believe is engaging with our customers is going to hold the primary key if we have to succeed and take care of this uncertain environment. So pass the next slide, please. So before I jump into a specific topic of digital marketing, which has to be a focus for today, let me spend few minutes to give a broader context in terms of what we see is happening as a new normal for real estate developers and how we need to actually prepare ourselves on an overall basis before we jump into a specific subject of marketing today. So yeah, next slide. So if you look at real estate developer, and I'm talking about residential or maybe build to sell as a business segment primarily here. So if I look at the real estate industry, maybe 10 years back, it was purely a seller's market. And at that point in time, prices used to appreciate. Whatever you used to build, you were able to sell. But in the last few years, we're finding that shift has become to a buyer's market. Prices are far more stable, but declining in some pockets. And that is a new normal we have been living in pre-COVID. And the sales velocity was anyways a kind of a challenge. Prices were not really appreciating. So I think there was a challenge we are living as a new normal before COVID. Now what COVID has done, COVID has actually accelerated this definition of new normal for all of us. So because it brings three significant challenges in our view. One is the economic challenge. Now if you look at today's consumer sentiment, customer sentiment is all-time low. There are fear of job cuts, there are fear of pay cuts, and it can hit as a developer in three different ways. One, there might be propensity to delay my purchase. They might think, thoda ruk ke buy karte. Second, it can also increase the risk of the cancellations for us, because again, there might be a fear of job cut or pay cut, or it might actually would have happened with them, they might tend to cancel some of the booking. That you're finding that in some form or shape happening also, which keeps the risk of sales protection. So I think the risk which we need to address here is how can I protect my sales, because customer ko lana and retain karna is equally important and a big challenge in today's environment. The third way it can hit us is in the cash flow issue. So because there might be a propensity of default on the payment, maybe default to the EMI payment, though moratorium is there, maybe in a longer term, my default maybe to the builder to pay my demand or to the EMI, and that can hit from a cash flow perspective. So how do we take care of this challenge to protect my sales? And that is something extremely important. And that's where we believe customer engagement is extremely critical. Second challenge we believe COVID brings us the behavior challenge. Now, who will buy? What will they buy? When will they buy? I think these are some of the significant questions which I think everybody is trying to answer. Now, if you look at who will buy, we clearly see, first of all, let me say that now COVID has taught the importance of home. People would have never realized ever before. Now, people love homes and they have realized that home is the place they are safest. So, which essentially means that demand will only go up. Now, we'll come to the timing part of it. When will that really convert into transaction, which is the most important thing? But the point which I want to drive home is demand for home is going to be extremely significant. So the sector will be poised for growth, but the term or the duration is something which is something which we need to look at. Second, we look at who are going to buy. We clearly see interesting, right? So NRIs are showing far more larger interest than what they were showing in a pre-COVID environment. Maybe because of home coming back to India, maybe dollar rupee equation, maybe they are finding the asset class might be far more real than others. So we are finding far more interest coming in from an NRI market. Now, which means that as a developer, I need to have a capability that मैं NRI market को approach कर सकूं, engage कर सकूं, and that's something which needs to be looked at. Another thing on who will buy, I would say, is demographics. I think never ever would have been an importance of data. I think one of the comment which was coming about, we were talking about before the starting was about data, AI, and all that. Now, I think this is extremely important that how do we look at data? So, for example, maybe the customers who are working maybe in aviation or a hospitality industry were severely hit may not be the right customers maybe to buy. Maybe they are less amenable to buy. But maybe people who are maybe lawyers or doctors or maybe working in media, entertainment, telecom, they might be far more amenable to buy. So how do you kind of look at our customer mix and target rightly? That's where again a customer mix and customer engagement becomes extremely critical. Even the product mix, I think the behavior, you will find that if the work from home is going to remain as a new normal for longer period of time, and that is going to remain as a new normal for sure for many companies, many employees, many industries. And even finding a real estate industry also looking at work from home as an option for a lot of roles also. They're also reimagining their organization rules and organization structure. And that's something which probably is becoming again an important agenda for them. Now, that would mean that probably I need a 50 square feet, 100 square feet, 200 square feet area more for me so that I can actually create workstations or a home learning for my kid and so on and so forth. So I think reimagining product mix or maybe the inventory which was difficult to sell maybe pre-COVID might slightly become an easier proposition maybe some people. I think how do we kind of look at the product mix which we are having and how do you kind of sell those is also going to be extremely important. And last bit on, I would say from a behavior perspective, the channel mix, and that's the key focus for today's presentation also. In terms of, we have been using a lot of traditional media for marketing, and developers have also started using digital marketing. But I would say I have seen developers spending either on experiment basis, not really invested heavily from this perspective. And marketing as a function and digital marketing as a bigger subset in that is going to see a significant shift. I think we are all talking about, we are doing webinar today. I think we would have never done this kind of webinars before. Getting so many people together so easily, so effectively. I think we are doing a lot of CP webinars as well. We are doing customer webinars as well. I think the power of digital is only unlocking. So how do we ensure that we are leveraging the power of digital marketing in a most effective manner. And that's where the behavior shift, because today the consumers, all of us today are consuming the smartphone, and the consumption is only increasing multiplicative. अगर मैं पहले 2 घंटे स्मार्टफोन या एप्स देखता था, today I'm spending maybe 3 hours, 4 hours or more than that. And honestly, that's not a disturbance. It's kind of a normal for us. And I think that's where a medium of a digital is going to make a significant difference. The third shift is a social shift. And that's where we say work from home and social distancing going to stay for very, very long period of time. And it's going to disrupt the way our customers are going to work. Right. So in terms of that, which means that my customers, my employees, and my channel partners, my entire ecosystem needs to work in a very contactless transaction basis, which will mean hyper digitization. So digitization, not only in terms of marketing, but entire journey is what is going to become an extremely, extremely significant step for all the developers to see हाँ मेरी सारे transactions मेरे customers करना चाहते हैं, employees करना चाहते हैं, channel partners करना चाहते हैं, am I able to provide them that platform, easy, usable, engaging, interactive, immersive platforms that people can perform the transaction what they want. So net, if you look at these three challenges, economic, behavior, and social challenges, I think they are all creating a significant thinking for us to say, मैं अपना sales कैसे protect करूं? How do I improve my sales? And how do I probably even generate new streams of revenue? So I think that's where the focus is. How do I reimagine things? And that is what we believe reimagining is going to be the key for us. And there are some principles what we believe are going to be the key focus when we do a reimagination. So these are three guiding tenets of the principle for this. One is seamless mobility. I talked about. So as an employee, I should be able to perform all transactions from the place where I'm working for. आज मुझे customer को onboarding करना है. My KYC, my welcome call, my SDR, everything should happen far more in a seamless manner. We are already talking about from a physical selling to a virtual selling. Now, for example, if we used to have maybe on an average 3 site visits to close a transaction, maybe that is going to come down to an average of 1.5, because people are not going to be far more comfortable and wanting to come there far more, which means that जो मेरी journey है from 1.5 site visit to 3 site visit needs to be bridged. And that's where an extremely important thing would be, how do I create a seamless mobility for my customers to understand more about me as a brand and about my projects. That's where seamless mobility, the seamless journeys will become extremely important. And while we have all these digitization and automation built in, it will generate a lot of data, which should give us a power to have personalized conversation. So basis जो मेरा action था, for example, if I click on an ad or a creative, if it talks about an offer or talks about an amenity or talks about something, I should be able to take my conversation from what my action was. As an employee, I should be served with कि अच्छा मुझे अब next best action क्या करना चाहिए? What should be my next best action? So my personalization of the conversation is going to be extremely, extremely critical. And the third thing is automation. How can I reduce human dependence? How can I reduce human errors? I mean, these are the three things or three principles we believe are going to be reflecting in terms of reimagining this. Now, the key question is, हमने challenges देख लिए, हमने principles देखे that now what is that we should aim for? The broad aim should be driving sales velocity. Now, for that, we believe next. There are three significant things which we are driving today for a lot of developers. One, I need to look at मैं अपना lead generation या lead pool जो है उसको मैं कैसे increase कर सकता हूँ. And not only lead generation, we're going to talk about a qualified lead generation. Second is, how do I improve my conversion ratio? So from a lead to a digital sales presentation on the site visit, from a site visit to a revisit to a final conversion, and in the entire thing, what is going to underlay is my customer engagement. And that's where these are three levers we believe are going to increase the sales velocity. And we do these by actually focusing on the entire value chain. Now, it's not that one thing, by doing one thing, will deliver an outcome. So marketing, pre-sales, sourcing is nothing but my channel partner coverage, sales and CRM, all put together, working together, and see a significant impact in the sales velocity for us. Now, if you look at it, some problems which you have typically seen, right? Pre-sales bolta hai, the quality of lead is not great. Sales team says the walk-ins are not enough. Marketing says that probably we are not able to convert things better. Sourcing team probably says that channel partner coverage is not better. Am I penetrating? Am mera breadth and depth? My penetration with my channel partners good enough? I'm sure all of us have got thousands of channel partners in our database. How many are really active and we are actively engaged with them? That number will be only few hundreds. Now, is there a possibility we can use digital and analytics at scale to actually ensure mera sourcing vertical? Today, all of us channel partners contribute a significant amount of sales percentage. So how do we look at platforms like digital, which have helped a lot of clients to see mera jo lead generation and conversion can become far more effective? How can I reduce my turnaround time? Now, the biggest challenge all of us face is cash flow today. If I look at it, most of the developers suffer from a problem. आज booking होती है, payment, stamp duty, registration. इस पूरी cycle का जो turnaround time होता है, it can take months for a lot of people. Now, unless you crash that timeline, a lot of parameters which are not controllable. At the same point in time, I can tell you there are a lot of controllable parameters can actually help us reduce the cycle time. जितना आप टर्न अराउंड टाइम कम करेंगे उतना कैश आपको जल्दी मिलेगा. You'll be able to this is all cyclical, right? So I think that's where all these are the functions which feed into each other. So for example, even जब मैं customer मेरे sales होती है, it should feed back into my marketing. अगर मेरी sales and marketing team are not well orchestrated, I will not be able to see कि मेरी customer की feedback क्या आ रही है and is it flowing back into my marketing engine, that my marketing cost becomes optimized. I think time and again we have seen that people say, अच्छा 2% marketing पे लगा दो, अच्छा traditional marketing में इतना खर्चा करते थे, digital में चलो आप इतना कर लो. That's where my entire effectiveness of my marketing gets compromised. Now, we believe that integrating all these functions put together keeps on feeding into each other and makes my entire investment far more effective. So that's what we believe is going to be the key game for all of us today. Ensure that how do we stitch this overall story together, use mechanisms of digital to scale things up, scale our operations, create personalization, and that will drive a sales velocity. For today's presentation, we're going to focus on marketing, see how we can actually improve the lead generation and the customer engagement bit for it. Yeah, next. So, customer journey, right? I think when you're talking about marketing, I talk about two important levers we are going to talk about. How can I improve my lead generation? And here also qualified lead generation pool. And second, the customer engagement. And that's where we look at the entire customer journey today. How does it really work, right? So if we look at it, people become aware of it, start creating consideration sets. So I think all of us probably when customer हमारी physical site पे आता है, more often than not, वो अपना एक consideration set बना लेता है. Okay, I'm going to consider these 3 or 4 developers or 3 or 4 projects in this vicinity. He knows when he comes to your site, he knows far more than what we know about the customer. He knows about the micro market, trends, pricing trends, amenities, competition, everything. And that's where I think the awareness and engagement becomes extremely important. Now, what we as developers have been doing traditionally, there are a few things as a developers we've been doing. Next. So if you look at it, all of us have been doing events, we do hoardings, all of us would have websites, we have telecalling team. Now the key here is wo kitni effective hai. I can give a lot of examples. We have seen developers having website, but traditionally it has been kept as a publishing engine. मेरी project की information आती है, मैं उसको लगा देता हूँ. And we don't really keep it current, and it is not seen as a lead generation engine. Now, key here is how do you really look at website, because website in today's environment is going to be one key focal point for any customer when he's even making a consideration set or even after. A lot of research is being done, a lot of qualitative surveys which talks about more than 90% of the customers before concluding a transaction or a sale would have spent time on the website at some stage or the other, maybe starting, maybe between, maybe before they close the transaction. And that's where extremely important that what information, what content they are publishing on the website, how engaging, how immersive, how interactive it is. And am I also creating it more than a information engine, a lead generation engine? And that is what becomes extremely critical. Now, if you look at some more initiatives that people would have taken, they would have put in, let's say, chatbots. They would have put in WhatsApp chatbots. Now, I'll give another example. I think features काफी सारे बन जाते हैं. Now, some of the places where we did a mystery visit, we found that I put a entry in the chatbot. It went there. So feature was working. Yes, there's a WhatsApp chatbot. There's a chatbot. It responds. Now, if a lead is dropped, if my telecalling team doesn't see it as an automated flowing engine, and I lose my leads, I've lost potentially a business there. Now, how well my journeys, my features, and my teams are integrated with each other? Is my Facebook Messenger talking back to my calling team? Is my chatbot calling integrated back to my calling team? Are they integrated? Are they giving an insight in terms of किस चीज को क्लिक करने से, किस चीज को सर्च करने से मैं आपकी वेबसाइट पे आया, चैटबॉट पे आया? I think all those things will become extremely critical, and that's what we need to see. मेरे investments को मैं कैसे effectively ensure कर सकता हूँ they are giving fire for me. Now we also see that even more people things are doing, right? So even beyond digital ads or blogs, people are even doing a web push notification. I think again, one of the conversation just before the webinar we started, I think we talk about let's say, for example, we go into a news website on our smartphone, or a cricket website, or any other money control, or whatever it is. We see those ads tend to follow us, and that's nothing but online retargeting. There are some developers who have mastered this art. They do it very well. Now the key is why it is important. First of all, हम click पे पैसा देते हैं, which is the best thing about the digital marketing. So your spend is far more optimized, far more controlled, and far more effectively can be monitored. Because अगर कोई चीज improve करनी है, you have to measure it, and that's where the power of digital lies. And second thing is, when मैं retarget कर रहा हूँ, when I'm doing a retargeting with the customer, it allows me to reach out to the customer at the time when he would want me to really spend time with them. Maybe I get free only 10 o'clock, and maybe my salesperson is not available. But this is exactly my retargeting tools. My website, my blogs, my forums are tools for me to really target that customer at that point in time. And we have seen significant amount of customer engagement and improvements happening there. So this to me is just a example or illustrative way of showing that how people are leveraging things. Virtual tour for that matter. I think in today's environment, I think probably we all would have mastered the Zoom calls or the Teams call with our customers. I've seen presentations which are nothing but an adaptation of मेरा brochure में था, उसको मैंने PowerPoint पे डाल दिया, and I'm presenting that. And that's where we completely lose the power of actually saying that कि मैं कैसे customers से interact कर सकता हूँ. I think the amount of time today customers are giving on these Zoom calls or virtual calls is far higher, maybe 45 minutes, 55 minutes, 1 hour, which probably used to be entire time from the time they used to enter into the reception to before they should go out. Now, which means 1 घंटे का 45 minutes to 1 hour quality time the person is giving. How do you make most of it? Now, there are few things. I'm just going slightly beyond this, but I think extremely critical. I think our organization skills also needs to be relooked at. How do I create that training environment, that skilling environment that I am? आज की date में, when a customer used to walk in, he used to have a very good ambience, air conditioned lobby, receptionist waiting for the person to greet, a very well suited salesperson, tea, coffee, amenities, experience, everything. Everything goes away now. It's all on the virtual tool. So all on the basically virtual calls or Zoom calls. Now, how do you make that effective is the key thing, and that's where people are investing a lot of new capabilities. Talking about interactive experience, virtual tool. So two things I would say. One, what is that I'm using today? Like a website, can I make it really effective by getting the right content and also creating it a lead generation engine and not just a content engine? Second, how can I use new capabilities like virtual tools, virtual walkthroughs, and so on and so forth? And third, how do I ensure my people are skilled to use all these things together and integrate it together to make it more effective? I think that's where the net point lies. Now, pass on next. So this is one very simple example to show you how probably a very simple journey should work. So for example, when you do a Google search, maybe I want to buy a 2 BHK in Malad, less than 1 crore, that's what I'm looking at, or a gated community. Now मैंने कोई social media पे ad देखा, clicked on that. Now basis that it should point me towards my website and not somebody else's website. So is my website coming when I'm searching on it? Point number one. Point number two, as I am scrolling, am I able to nudge him to say, अच्छा आपको अगर content अच्छा लग रहा है, can I reach out to you for more details? Can I get an appointment with you? Now when a user clicks in, can I ensure that in a very simple but personalized and automated manner, a nudge goes back to my customer on the WhatsApp and an email, and also to my team, was this customer Chaitanya is going to look at a 2 BHK presentation. He has shown interest because he liked the offer which I put in, or maybe the amenities which I've talked about it, because I know the action on which he kind of created that. So I'm integrating the customer and my salespeople both. Then obviously nudging him before, reminding of the customer before that, I think, how am I managing the entire schedule? Because I think a lot of cancellations would happen in the meetings, and how do you ensure that nudging happens and the schedule happens? Then once the entire visit is done, how do you ensure that you're sending him back a mail with feedback, with collateral, with the right offers back to him? And when the customer opens it back, the trigger should come back to my salesperson that actually customer ended up opening that email. Now you may want to have a conversation later on. I think it's a very simple path. Everybody does the similar way, but I think creating some level of personalization, nudging, automation, stitching it together can make things far more effective. I think very simple example, but I think it makes a significant difference here. Yeah. So I think while I talked about in terms of how probably we are all moving from a physical sales to a virtual sales, we talked about importance of a lot of tools like a website or a virtual tour, or maybe digitally engaging my entire customer journey. Is this enough? Are these choices which are made available to us, making them effective, is it enough, or there's something more to it? I think that's what is going to drive a key conversation going further. So I'll invite Upasna to help us navigate to the next part of the presentation. Upasna?
Thank you, sir. So, when we look at digital marketing, we have to look at digital marketing as two distinct buckets. First is the part that Chaitanya talked about, which is from your platform perspective, getting your platforms to all work together. Your social media should talk to your website, should talk to your pre-sale, should talk to your WhatsApp chatbots and digital sales presentations. So that's the platform part of it. The part that I want to now emphasize on is the other one, which is what do we say using all those platforms that will set us aside from everyone in the market, that will project our brand voice and our brand values. Because what we can have all the platforms in place, but if we're not able to articulate our brand value to our customers beyond the lead funnel, then the platforms are not really going to work the way we want, or are not going to give us a result that we want to get from them. And this is extremely important, because we have to provide value, we have to articulate that value online, and we have to build trust with not just the people in our lead funnel who are interacting with us to buy, but a broader audience set who could be our potential buyers as well. And once we have trust, once we have I have articulated our brand voice, our brand value, that is when we build on the engagement. That is when we build our reputation as well. And the second part that's critical from a content perspective is that it helps us as real estate developers be extremely in step with the context, with the environment that we are in. So let me give you an example. While there has been this lockdown, a lot of real estate advertising, or a lot of real estate social media has still been very cookie cutter. still see posts going up or ads going up that um, emphasize open spaces and spending time with family in open spaces. Arey, but we are right? We should be actually talking about how there is zero wastage within the apartments, how our apartments are self-sufficient. So that is one example of how focusing on what we say and articulating our brand and focusing on content as a very strong piece and not just something a graphic designer does sitting down is extremely important. It helps us provide value, articulate our value, helps us build trust with a broader audience, and it also helps us keep in step with the audience, with the overall context. And this trend of the content being king, it's not new. Across India over the last few years, we have noticed some very distinct customer behavior patterns that tell us that good content will set us apart. Finding our brand's voice, finding our brand's positioning, and articulating that creatively and engaging that will yield results. So if, for example, you see here about engaging content creation, 92% of consumers ads that tell a good story, because digital ads are no longer just an image with a text on it. They have to tell a story. The other example is the use of video. And if you see here, there are about 265 million active YouTube users in India. And 95% of those users watch videos in regional language. So, we have to step back and think about ourselves that if we are going to market within Bombay, have we considered the use of vernacular ads? Do we make videos in Marathi? Do we make videos in Gujarati? Do we have creatives that are in Marathi or Gujarati, right? There's also trends of people spending more time engaging with live videos. So have we considered, for example, going live on our Insta or Facebook page and doing a walkthrough of our maybe show apartments, since obviously the sites are closed. So maybe we can bring that experience online. So some of these numbers actually point to consumer behavior that is already consuming content. Now the question is, what do we do to serve this consumer and engage with them? So we've included some examples here, and I'm happy to share the links in the chat window. There are already some global examples of real estate brands finding their voice. The first one here is by Element, where they have done an entire series of show and tell videos for their YouTube channel, where they follow one realtor or one salesman and they take a tour of the project through the realtor or the salesman eyes. So they're very engaging, short 1.5 minute videos that you can go and you can see. And you really see how you get to know the person behind the construction, the person behind the building, and that's what they're trying to bring out in there. The other good example is by Sotheby's. They have an entire series called Reside Moments, where they take one small feature of a home. It could be a garden, could be a pool, it could be a glass, and then they have a moment created around that one feature, which again becomes an entire series. They also had this other series where they take the homeowner and they talk about how their home or their space inspired them. And that entire series was built around the idea of your best life begins with a home that inspires you. So some very interesting content oriented work that's happening globally that goes beyond just emphasizing the elevations or emphasizing amenities or emphasizing payment plans.
Just to add here, Upas, I think extremely relevant in today's environment is trust. I think सबसे बड़ा problem है which probably today's customer face is having a trust. Especially I'm talking about which are under construction projects or maybe just launched projects. Maybe RTMI or ready OC flats will have a different challenge, but under construction, one of the biggest challenges is the trust. And I think content content which can be served in this manner creates a phenomenal amount of trust because you're creating out of transparency. And I think it's about how do you look forward. I don't think you have to look anything behind what Probably there might be a lot of challenges we as a developer we might have faced through, but I think how do you look forward and how do you kind of use these kind of content forms and methods? I'll give a very, very simple example. I think when you look at a possession happening, right? People talk, people take pictures, people do a contest and all that. How can you even kind of create a very simple video around that and get those published? And I think that's probably the happiest moment in the life of the customer. Amount of engagements and interactions we can generate out of it, amount of curiosity which you can generate is not parallel. So I think that's where look at how people are consuming content, what kind of content is can be put in, and how that element of trust and the voice can be reached out, I think is extremely important. Yeah, Pasna.
Very aptly said, sir. And this is something that is not just happening globally, but we also see sporadic examples of this kind of work happening in India. So if, for example, we've included some examples here. Again, I'll share the YouTube links with you. The first one is 99 Acres in about 2007, when Digital was just coming on board. They created a series of these witty ads that had that talked about 99 Acres as a marketplace. So I don't know if any of you would recall, but there's Akbar involved and Akbar's old wife involved, and they're looking for a plot of land. There's also something that was done by Unitech on the on A Long Way Home, which is a very interesting 60-second kind of narrative of buying a house and then you align it with Unitech's brand value. And the last one is done by Lodha, which is again obviously they have Mr. Bachchan in it, so it's a very, very well produced ad. So some of these examples tell us that yes, there is something there is a lot of work that's happening on the Indian front as well. However, it needs to be sustained campaign plus non-campaign work that needs to step in. And even when we do campaigns, one campaign has to talk to other, and all campaigns need to fit under the umbrella of what our brand values are. And let me give you another example that we saw recently. So if you take Godrej's Happy EMIs campaign, and then now they have a campaign called Hope Has a Plan. If you just go and see and read up about those two campaigns, and again, I'm happy to share those links in the chat. The underlying theme or the underlying tone of the brand is about happiness. It's about hopefulness. It's about starting something new, and that theme, that brand voice, flows through everything that they do, whether it's in the color palette, whether it's in the way they articulate the hashtags, the campaign hashtags, whether it's how they put up non-campaign social media posts. So they had something called Happy EMIs, and now they're doing something called Hope Has a Plan. And that goes on to show you that there are multiple ways that content can come alive. So you will find content that campaign articulated through videos. You will find that campaign articulated through social media postings, through animations, through infographics, through photographs, through GIFs, through even some live streams around events. And once that's your core of the content, once your bank of content is created, right, it can then be disseminated through multiple mediums. You can put it up as print material, you can put it up on social media, you can put it up on blogs for backlinking, you can put it up as social media or display ads, you can do PDFs on your websites. And to really scale the content, to really blast it and achieve engagement beyond, and what I'm sure a word everyone's familiar is viral content, right? To really capitalize on the virality of a content, we have to look at additional casting elements like maybe interactive UIs, for example, embedding people's ability to embed content in different pages. We have to look at data so that that can flow back in and help us optimize and create new audience sets. We have to look at comment section, because comment section today, especially on social media, are extremely lively, and they help you engage more and push your brand voice further. So these are just some of the, from a content perspective, some examples and some platforms, tools, and formats that can be used to create and really blast content and achieve virality. And, we have to think of it. I'm certain one question that's coming right now is, but why do it? What is the advantage that we will get out of it? And we have to remember that there are two folds that can result from this. The first is being seen. Throughout the customer journey, content helps you, uh, be seen by prospects, and it helps you increase your visibility. You become top of mind recall. You become synonymous with what you choose to be synonymous with, and not by default with something. And your brand kind of stands for what you want to stand for, and it's not associations built by default. So, and across the customer journey, you'll see that, 90% of consumers, they find content useful. 68% of them, they spend time reading content from a brand they're interested in. And about 70% of them trust the branded content. Once you have you offered value, you're building trust, you are seen as someone who's trustworthy. And building brand trust automatically moves you into the consideration set of your lead pool. And it's not that we don't see this yielding results anywhere. I think across sectors, be that an Airtel or a Maruti or a HDFC, we've seen this yield results. We also just talked about Godrej Properties and how in fact, this financial year, they've achieved their highest sales despite COVID and despite the downturn. And again, this is something that, can be, like Chaitanya was mentioning earlier, can be extremely data backed, can be extremely tracked, can be optimized as well. So it's not content creation and then we don't know what result it's going to bring in. You can track KPIs, performance indicators like a net promoter score, a customer satisfaction score, brand retention, customer retention, brand awareness, ease of product entry, what competitive advantage you have, what your share of voice is, what customer sentiment is for your brand versus competitor brands, and so on and so forth. So there are many numerous KPIs that you can track across this entire awareness to purchase funnel when you invest in content marketing. And one of the things that we've also now thought of is that while we have discussed about the platforms and we have discussed about the content piece of it and the advantages of putting effort in it, what we just wanted to do was give you a quick kind of roadmap of what is it that we can do now and what is it that we should be doing at next to get started on this journey. And I just want to pause here, sir. Do you want to step in and say something before we get started on the demos?
No, I can. So yeah, so I think one more thing I'll add, content is going to be extremely important because not only lends voice, and second, it also helps create trust. And one question I think I get asked many a times is that the pricing bit, right? I think if you're able to build that element of trust creates that comfort that you can even command premium from the client. I think we all know that we all are consuming something or the other in today's market, right? We consume maybe consumer durables, apparels, whatever it is. Many a times we find that even for a small thing, trust becomes an important element to decide on that. And obviously trust can't be built overnight, but extremely important is a going concern. Content can really help build that trust. And that's what I think was the key focus is on the second part of that. Yeah, Upasana, go on.
Right. I was also just looking at the chat, and I think one question that I see is from Raj, where he's asking if there's if you have to choose between SEO and lead gen for sales. So I know we talked about a Q&A session later, but I think it's important to address that right now. So Raj, SEO and lead gen kind of work hand in hand, because if you have good SEO, you have good SEM. Your SEM performance is very, very dependent on your SEO and the quality of it. And SEO again has multiple parts to it. So it's not an either or, they are both linked. And this is where the foundational importance of good content comes in. If you have good content, you will rank higher on SEO. If you rank high on SEO, it will help you optimize your SEM, which will lead to higher quality leads. So again, from our perspective, the puzzle really comes down to having good content, making sure the content is optimized to include the keywords that you are targeting, making sure the content is in line with Google's policies, and making sure that, you know, a lot of people outside are referring to your content, which is called a backlinking strategy. So all of those are different pillars of content. And obviously having rich content or rich media increases your SEO standing, which helps with your SEM. So
I'll give an example. I won't quote the name of the developer. When you searched with the name of the developer, didn't write the name developer at the end, didn't even open the website. So it not in the first page that even website was not available or visible at all. I think that's maybe an extreme example. But as I already mentioned that digital presence and eminence, you don't have an option. There's no option left. We need to be extremely vigilant, present, and active on the digital platform at any stage of the project. I think that's where the content, and that's what she talked about, SEO and SEM. I think it's all linked. Jitna acha content hoga, utna acha aapka SEO, and I think that will help you to remain there. And a lot of things, we'll also talk about case studies in terms of the way people have kind of moved and benefited around that. Maybe, yeah. So, what do you want me to take, or?
Yeah. So I think this discussion of SEO, SEM is a good place to dive into what is the central component of any digital presence, which is your website. Now, while we talked about having n number of features on a website and so on, we just wanted to show you at its core, you know, the websites have to go from just being a publishing engine, which is just publishing the information about you, about your company, to actually converting into a lead generation engine. Now, to convert the website into a lead generation engine, you will obviously need to make changes to it, which could include changes of the design. It could include changes of technical nature. It could include changes of adding features or functionalities, right? And that's the beauty of digital, that you don't need to do all three together. You can experiment with just doing pillar 1 or pillar 2 or pillar 3 and see what works best. And then either you can increase your investment once you start seeing returns, or you can tone down the investment and say, this is, you know, I'd rather not do this. So we just wanted to show you a quick view of what, from our perspective, a minimum interactive website should look like. So when we see here, you know, this is the landing page or just a home page sample. What is the first thing that immediately strikes you? The first thing that strikes us, hopefully, is the search box and a chatbot. We see imagery, there is no clutter. We are immediately as users prompted to search for what we want. However, we also know that as someone who is coming to our site might or might not know the names of our project, which is fair. They might just know the locality they want to search for, or they might just know our brand name, which is why we go on and we give them a quick tool to help them and say, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a 1 BHK, 2 BHK? Or are you, and then we can ask them, also help them qualify in terms of budget, or we can help them qualify in terms of location, that I'm looking for a project in Bandra, maybe I'm looking for a project in Dahisar. So that could be your first filter, right? And the second thing is that the other thing we want to do is, the moment someone is looking for something, we also want to use this space, which is the second scroll, to build our eminence. So we want to either include a performance overview, or we want to include some sort of backgrounder on our company, or to highlight any sort of achievements that we've made right up front, and continue to build that trust and continue to highlight that content right here. We then also want to articulate what is special about us. And this is the point where really we get, and this is the space we get to really put across our brand voice, put across our brand values. So for example, the kind of content you see here is a very formal content, right? It's catering very clearly to people in the higher age bracket of maybe, you know, late 30s, early 40s. It's a very formal tone and voice that you read. For your brand, you could always make the choice and say, but I don't want to be this formal, right? Or you could always say, but I don't want to play on elite. I want to play on affordable, or I want to play on accessible, or I want to play to a younger audience that's sub 35. So, you know, the language that is used here makes a big difference to how your brand sounds, to a brand's tone tonality. The other thing that we would also want to include right up front is because channel partners are a foundational part of our sales cycle today. We want to give them a place right here for them. Now, either we can prompt them here to register with us, which builds in interactivity for them, or we can include relevant information for them here. And that really depends on how much you want to share or not share. And last but not the least, you would see that we have a blog here that's built into the website. And that's important because from an SEO perspective, blogs add layers of content without crowding the main website that helps your SEO ranking. And the higher your SEO ranking, the more relevant your SEM, the more optimized your SEM gets. We also at the bottom have quick assistance center. People don't need to go searching within pages. They can immediately either click on sales or customer care or working with us or media corner and so on and so forth. And the footer obviously has a whole set of links that they can look at. So from an interactive website point of view, you saw that we had a fairly streamlined, fairly simple interactive website mock-up, and that had various subtle interactions and call to actions built in for the users. For a website like that, if I am judging how well it's doing, I would look at how many people searched, right? I would look at how many people who came to my site used my interactive search. I would look at how many people who came to my site actually used my chatbot. I would look at the response time on the chatbot, whether it's automated or whether it's manned by a live person, right? So those are different metrics that we can attach the moment we increase the interactivity of the website.
Just add on to it, I think what we did for some developers in terms of, for example, some developer invested in virtual tour, and उस virtual tour तक पहुंचने के लिए I probably had to navigate 4 scrolls or 4 clicks to reach there. And when we put up an analytical engine on top of that, we found that that's the thing which probably is catching the maximum attention. So today the best part is हमारा content है, हमारे पास data analytics है. It actually helps us to see that how it doesn't become a static website. It actually, we can make it work in terms of what customers are really preferring. How are they really navigating my website? What is that they're trying to do, view, achieve? And that's what it helps in all these metrics. I think probably I'm jumping a gun here. So for example, few of the metrics which probably Upasana talked about, I'll add more to it. How many new visitors are coming on my website? How much time they're spending on my website? So I've seen people spending less than 1 minute on the website and going out, and that's probably not the intention of the website. So how do you kind of increase that engagement? Very, very small metrics. The good part is we need to measure it so we can improve it. And that's what we want to bring in. And that suddenly from just a publishing engine actually becomes an engaging engine and a lead generation engine. Yeah.
Right. So since we've discussed metrics now, I think one of the other things we wanted to show you was some sort of analytics. So once we have a lot of our digital marketing or content in place, a new interactive website in place, we've revisited our planning mix and allocated investments towards digital. Like we've been mentioning here, that everything is extremely measured and it's easier to optimize, what's working and what's not working. So let us just show you one example of what it would look like. This is a marketing dashboard demo, which would come to you as a promoter, and different cuts of this can go to the head of sales and marketing, could go to your marketing team as well. But from a promoter's perspective, if you see here, let's focus on marketing, on the marketing piece. Now, you can immediately see on your dashboard what is the total spend on marketing that you've incurred till now. What is the total number of bookings that's generated? What are across different projects? What are the number of leads that you have generated? And what is the cost per lead across these different projects? And once I click on, let's say, project 1, right, I'm able to go into project 1 and understand truly how many leads have I generated, how many campaigns have I run in the last 3 months, what is the trend for those campaigns, and what is the campaign detail as well, whether it was a sustenance campaign, was it which agency ran it, what is the score for my campaign, and what my campaign result has been. So from a marketing dashboard perspective, having something like this immediately lets you measure a lot of the KPIs that we were talking about a little earlier. This obviously there is a whole host more that can be done, but this is just a high level overview of what it could look like. So do you want to add anything here?
Can go back. So I think the only thing is I would say is drill down to last level. Probably not showing it here. The last level we can drill down to say, agar Facebook hai, Facebook with particular creative, I think you can go to the last level to understand how effective things are there. Again, I'm saying that the fact that if you're talking about effectiveness of anything, we want to measure it so we can improve it and make it more effective. And we have seen multiple times when we have worked with these philosophies, mera cost per lead kam hua hai, and more than that metric, I am saying my qualified lead percentage has increased a lot. Just by ensuring that. One more thing, probably I think we'll talk in more detail on digital marketing. जितने भी platforms होते हैं, and we have found many a times, मेरे platforms और मेरी website और मेरे जितने भी adapts हैं, वो सब एक दूसरे से आपस में बात नहीं करते, and they are more in siloed manner. How do we ensure that they work in all well-oiled, orchestrated manner, and that make things extremely, extremely powerful? Yeah, Upasana, can go on.
Let me go back on this. Sorry.
Might have to escape and come back.
Right. So I think from that perspective, we've kind of tried to lay out what we should be doing now and what we should be doing next. Once we have the foundational elements of our interactive website, our digital marketing is synchronous, talks to each other, there is content that we have invested in, and we've revisited our marketing, budgeting, and planning. Once those foundational elements are in place now, we can always move and leverage some new elements and keep on enhancing what we're doing on digital, whether it's introducing new interactive elements like AR or VR or virtual client interactions or personalized web interactions, to whether it goes into descriptive analytics or predictive analytics, whether it's about campaign scorecards and so on and so forth. We just want to also show you some quick examples of where we've tried some of this and we've seen metrics and KPIs move significantly. The first,
I'll just hold on. So I think while you can come back to that slide, you have to escape it. I'll give an example. If you look at it, leads. I think just worked during the lockdown period. Your leads पड़ी थी that some 10,000 leads which developer had. कि boss ये नो लोगों ने माल खरीदा नहीं हमारा, and these are the leads which came at different points in time, and these are available with us. We just ran an analytical tool on top of it, and we said that to start calling these first 500 people. For those first 500 people, they came out 21 qualified leads coming out of it. We just used the power of the data. We looked at whatever marketing had spent earlier. We had that database, and that's where again looking at how my data should be enriched, data should be looked at, usko analyze karke I can start creating those qualified leads. And some of the developers even gone to the extent that we're talking about predictive, jahan par we can talk about, can I predict that probably Upasana has 90% probability to buy and Chaitanya has got 60% probability to buy. So can I start identifying all those people who have more than 80% probability to buy? I start putting my effort there before I go into the next people. I mean, that's where these engines help us become far more effective in what we deliver. Yeah, Upasana.
Right. And the effectiveness of some of that you can see here. Now, this is an example of a corporate website where we moved it from a publishing engine to a lead gen engine. We did some work around, creating a new user experience, changing some of the design front, doing a technical check from an SEO and an SEM perspective. And we also created some new pages that were only specifically for channel partners to come and interact with. This became such a good organic channel of lead generation that In a year, there were about 107 walk-ins only through the website across launch and sustenance projects. And if you, we all know the average cost of a site walk-in. So if you can multiply that, you will know that the ROI that we got from this kind of organic engagement, organic lead generation was extremely high. We saw, almost 100% increase in website visitors, nearly 100% increase in unique visitors. We saw a significant reduction in bounce rate. We saw a 30% increase in the time people were spending on the website. A 71% increase in the session duration of the website and so on. So these are just, and the second thing that we did focus on was from a digital marketing perspective. When we look at digital marketing, what immediately comes to our mind is digital campaigns where we have, paid an agency to run those campaigns for us. What we often end up, giving lesser importance to is the organic platforms that we already own that are free of cost to us. Your own Facebook handle, your own Insta handle, your own Twitter handle. Those three platforms, your own even LinkedIn page, right? Those three platforms, when we put a content strategy on it, which works hand in hand with our paid campaigns, which puts our brand voice out there, which engages the audience that we have, actually delivers for us a very high ROI on bookings. So over a 1-year period, we generated 81 leads, which resulted in 5 bookings. And even if you take it at 2% per booking for a mid-market segment, you again know that this is going to give you a high ROI. And just by focusing on content and just by focusing on an online reputation management strategy, we were able to increase Facebook engagement by nearly 4,000%. And I know this sounds like a big number, but no, it was not a small base. It actually was that much of an increase. We saw a 200% increase in Insta followers and a very, very high ROI on this organic digital marketing activity that was done.
I just add on to this. I think while you look at probably the below metrics are extremely high, and that too at a reasonable base, I would say. Even if I look at the first metric, when it takes time for a brand to really take off, getting into that kind of a bookings and organic leads, as Rupasa rightly said, it's no investment. It's just doing what you're anyway supposed to do. Just do it right, can give this kind of an outcome. And that's what the key point is.
And the last example we wanted to give you of good content is from an email campaign perspective. Now, I know that everyone might be skeptical, but that, emails are all spams and no one really opens emails. But trust me, if you send the right content to the right email audience, you will see the results. And as long as we are clear about what we intend to do. So there are project mails that you might send, then there are non-project mails that you might send. So for example, one of the examples you see here of one of the screenshots you see is I Care For You, right? We ran an entire series of non-project mailers very simply on wellness during the lockdown, on money management during the lockdown, on a host of other fun activities to do with family during lockdown and so on and so forth. Very simply doing this resulted in a 15% open rate of emails, a 9% click-through rate, and the highest we saw was 26%. And if you can Google email metrics, you will know that these are extremely high numbers to achieve. And very similarly for project mails, while project mails are more targeted and they had more project-specific content, whether it was for launch or sustenance campaigns, we did end up generating 4 leads simply by emailing the existing lead bank with new and creative project mailers. Again, this is something, it was a channel that or a platform that the real estate developer was not using earlier. We went in, we created the content plan for it, we got the creatives done, we put the tools in place for it, and then we trained their team to use the tools as well. And we're managing this for them pretty much on an ongoing basis. So this was the third kind of platform that we unlocked for a real estate developer.
I just add on to it. I think most of the times, I think I talked about trust a lot. I think most of the times you also find that developers khali paisa lene ke liye reach out karta hai. I think that's where the only time when probably developers really connect with the customers. And we talked about customer engagement being the key. And these are these are almost negligible cost methods to really engage with your client. Amount of trust which they develop, amount of affinity which they develop with you is unparalleled. We found when we did this non-project emails, people spending time opening, interacting with you. See, at the end of the day, and हमारे business में sale is not that आया और ले लिया. It's not an impulse buy. It's an event. It takes time, and that's where these kind of engagement tools, which I would say are cost effective, done well, with the right purpose defined. Not every action will yield a sale, but every action should focus at least on the customer engagement bit of it. If you got that metric right, you will eventually drive a consistent sales. That's extremely important. I'm seeing consistent improvement in the sales velocity, and that's what the key point is. Yeah, Pasta, next we can go.
Right. So I think with that, we kind of want to close out on the on some of the examples and some of our learnings from how to unlock digital really for real estate. And I'm also seeing some of these questions come in within the chat. So let me just address that right up front. Within EY, one of the things that we do is we're happy to help extract maximum value from your current set of digital investments and bring in a new way of working for your team as well by setting up something called a digital center of excellence. And the outcome for it obviously will be marketing effectiveness, an increased qualified lead pool, lead conversion, and an improved customer engagement. And like you saw some examples, there are numbers and metrics that can be put to each one of these things. I very consciously here call out that we will extract maximum value from your current digital investment. So at no point are we going to step in and say something unreasonable like, if you do AR videos or AR app, you're going to get great customer engagement. We focus first on just figuring out what do you have currently, how do we improve that, and how do we move your some key metrics. So with that, I think I just want to pause here, hand it over to Chaitanya for some last words, and I think then we can go to Jeff for the Q&A session.
Yeah, so I think we can discuss the concept of digital center of excellence largely as what. So there is a method to this entire thing in terms of how do we ensure that we can work to ensure that your digital investments are unlocked on a sustainable basis. I think that's what the key is. So with that, I think this is what largely we wanted to cover, largely in the marketing perspective, being the agenda for today. I'll just leave it one final thought. These principles, what we talked about, leveraging the power of digital and data to connect with the customers, applies seamlessly even for your channel partners and your employees both. And lots and lots of examples being delivered to give you comfort. I think when I say it's not an option left, I think we all have to look at the journey, start that journey, and believe that this can actually make things more profitable for us. And when I'm using this word, I'm conscious of it. It can actually make you things far more profitable the way we go into. That's where we'll just bring it to an end from our perspective. Over to Jay, if you can help us facilitate any question Q&A for the session before we move to the feedback.
Thank you, Chaitanya and Upashna. I think majority of questions you have answered. I'll hand over to Mr. Nikunj for more questions. Mr. Nikunj.
Yeah, hi. Mr. Sheth, Upasna, you were great today. Like, we have this amazing session going on. So I think you have opened up the digital world for the viewers out here. But the first question will go here is, there are a few questions which are on the chat box, but still, Chaitanya, it would be great if you can just highlight it in an elaborated manner. So the first question was, will these techniques work for other industry as well? We are in multiple businesses and want to bring this aspect in all of them. Chaitanya, over to you.
Yeah, so I think, if I tell you, I think probably real estate is the last industry to pick up technology. Almost all of the industry, I'm not talking about banking, financial service or telecom industry, which are way ahead in terms of adopting technology. But if you look at automotive, I would compare manufacturing, automotive, construction, real estate. there is not a single industry where I believe these concepts are not applicable. Today, the challenges of economic, behavior, and social challenges are prevalent to all industries, all companies. Principles remains the same. It's only the fact the way you will apply it, the way you will contextualize it, will change to that extent. Otherwise, all these principles, I think, you take a healthcare industry, it has been done, developed, and delivered. Manufacturing, if you look at the usage of, we call it as an IoT there because it's more about manufacturing. You digitize the entire factory, you create a digital twin to see मैं क्या input डाल रहा हूँ, क्या output आ रहा है, can improve the productivity there. If you look at automotive, automobile is, well, I think the nearest example for real estate automobile, high investment, high engagement. They have been using like dealer management platform from long time. अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि channel partner portal होना चाहिए मेरे पास. If I do not bring channel partners on a single platform, interact with them, I'm least effective. I give an example, since I'm talking on channel partner. We worked with a few developers. One story I'll tell you is we worked with a Pune-based developer. उसने Western Pune में project launch किया था, and they believe that is the only micro market I need to activate at the launch time because और कहीं से lead आएगी नहीं. Suggested that why don't we create a digital sales center and try and outreach to the channel partners. They found that when they opened that, they were able to get 20% leads and 20%, more than 20% channel partners activated from the zone where they were not even present or not even aiming to go. 20% lead by just activating a digital platform. That's the kind of power which आज की डेट में अगर मुझे NRI के पास जाना है या maybe I want to, lot of developers have got nearly 20% of their sales coming out of the outside the Bombay region.
Correct.
Bombay developer की बात कर रहा हूँ, outside MMR. It can be outside in India or outside India as well. More than 20% of the sales coming in. It's a big number. And in today's market, if that number still stays relevant, it can be even from a percentage perspective, शायद 30-40% हो जाएगा. I think that's where the entire power would lie in terms of how to use it. So answering it simply, principles apply the same across industries, manufacturing, healthcare, construction, real estate, even B2B business for that matter. All have been actually unlocking this potential.
Okay, thank you. So as you are right that real estate picks the technology at the later stage, we understand. So Abhishek is also asking you that does ENY execute all other sectors as well?
Absolutely, yeah. We are focused almost across all the sectors, and we do it from concepts. I think I just responded to the questions. I'll tell you that we work across sectors, and we have got sector focused teams as well. So I represent a few set of sectors I represent today. And second thing is, our job is not only to give strategy, वो concept को लेके designing that concept, executing that concept, and adopting it. Many a times, I'm sure as developers, if talk about real estate as a primary example, काफी लोग Salesforce, CRM, ERP पे खर्चा करते हैं. And say, यार boss, मैंने इतना खर्चा किया, कुछ मिला नहीं मुझे. And the primary problem is adoption is not there. मैंने website बनाई, उससे कोई leads ही नहीं आती है. मैं social media पे इतना खर्चा करता हूँ. I don't know what leads are coming in. So the point is adoption, and you can make the best of the places, but if people don't come in, there's no value. So the focus for us is not only concept, design it, execute it, get the adoption working, and at the end, deliver the business outcome which you're aiming for. So if my outcome was to increase sales, I'll work on increased sales. If the outcome was to improve my customer engagement, I'll work on that, and so on and so forth.
Got it. Okay, thank you. The next question is from Dharti Holmes. How does the pricing work for such assignments? Will it change with location or projects?
So pricing typically works on the scope. I think it doesn't depend on the location, to be honest. It's not that probably if you are doing a project in Parel vis-a-vis doing a project in Borivali or doing a project in Ahmedabad or Gujarat, anywhere.
Okay.
The pricing will depend on the fact what's the scope of work you're talking about. If we are looking at probably I'm doing it for a volume of work, this number of projects, maybe the number of outcomes I'm trying to look at. I'm looking at only marketing करना है, मुझे channel partners भी करना है, मुझे CRM भी करना है. So the pricing will depend primarily based on the scope of work and not really location of the project.
So it goes customized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So again, a question from Dharti Homes. They're asking, we have multiple projects in multiple areas. Should we focus on branding our development company, or should we brand our individual projects?
So, me, I think answer is both. I don't think we have a choice there, right? I think each brand has to have create its own voice. I think Upasana mentioned it beautifully that look at any examples. Aaj Maruti ka bhi ek brand, and if you look at all the other brands, what he has, the brands are there. If you take Lotha as an example, Gori as an example. So sometimes the company's brand remains at a much higher height and helps the my project brands, and sometimes project brands create a stronger brand. But my project will have a specific value proposition. The answer is not too straight and simple, to be honest, right? Because agar as a project I do a 3 crore ka bhi ghar banata hu, main 50 lakh ka bhi ghar banata hu, it will mean that my value proposition will differ. However, my integral value of my company or my brand has to still remain the same. So how much I invest in the branding can differ, but creating a messaging for my company or a corporate and my projects is it's not it's given. It has to happen.
Right.
So to add on to that,
Yeah.
Nikunj, there are what you're referring to is called a brand architecture, where you have a mother brand, and then under that you have sub brands. So that is one approach that can be taken to create the developer's brand, and then have sub projects that reflect the developer's brand, yet also have their own vision. So that's one way to do it. The other approach a lot of developers choose to do is not brand themselves at a corporate. So their corporate brand doesn't exist, but their projects are very strongly branded as individual projects because they want to maintain that separate kind of identity for each project, right? So
Correct.
you will find examples for both approaches, and really it's a call at the promoters level of how to project themselves in the market.
Correct. So what happens here is, to be honest, when a project is out of MMR, that is where the margins are thin. So if someone is having a multiple project out of MMR, for them to market project wise, it is difficult. On the second scenario, when a person is having a multiple business on the same brand, that becomes again a question that should they do sector wise, or should they do project wise, or should they do the general branding of the company?
Honestly, it's not a one size fits all. I don't think it's a straight answer. As I said, it all depends on the objective and the projects which I'm doing. But I'll tell you very simply, in my mind, you need to have a brand voice of the brand and the project itself. Now, मुझे इसको कैसे play करना है, and how do I really want to reach out to the market? What's my goal? I think that is what should define my content, my execution, and my spends.
Got it. Okay, so we have the answer. Okay, so the next question is from Mr. Raj. If a company has to decide between SEO and lead generation for sales, what has to be their priority? If any part from above, I think it says, if any other part apart from above, you can please suggest.
I think Upasana to answer. Upasana, you want to answer this?
Yeah. Like I discussed that when we were talking about the importance of web content, right? That SEO and SEM are intricately linked. SEM is when you put just to break down a technical term. Search engine marketing is when you put money and create Google AdWords accounts and Google ad groups and so on, and then it shows up as display ads across the net. So if you go to a money control, you see a banner on top. That's an example of display ad. If you search for something, let's say you search for you search for any project, and you'll see 90 ka ad upar. That's your search ad, right? So all of those are very dependent on your SEO, and SEO is that your SEO score is decided by Google on the basis of many things. Something as simple as what is the content you put on your website, and what kind of keywords are there which are part of the content, versus what are the keywords that you are using to run your paid campaign. So if let's say you run a keyword that says 2 BHK Dahisar, and I don't find 2 BHK Dahisar anywhere on your website as part of your SEO, that goes against you. So which content also has to evolve as you keep on evolving your paid marketing efforts. The second thing Google looks at, and this is the tricky part of it, is how many people, how many third parties are linking back to your website. So if let's say there is a random blog that is talking about a project and linking back to your website, then Google considers that what is called a third-party link or a backlink. So the more backlinks you have, the higher your SEO score as well. And the higher your SEO score, the more your chances of winning a keyword bid for your paid marketing at a lower price. So SEO and SEM are extremely linked. I think that's one, which is why, content is fundamentally important. The other instance of paid marketing is social media, where you'll see advertising on Facebook, you'll see advertising on Instagram, and so on. Those are independent of your search efforts per se. So you can, while you can embed, like, let's say, Facebook pixels or analytics in your landing pages to understand how many people are coming from social media, your social media keywords, your social media targeting, media geo-targeting or interest-based targeting is not linked directly to your SEO, SEM efforts. That's only for Google. On social media, you focus more on demographics, behavioral. And while we can all define that my audience, that I want to target people from 35 to 45 living within, inside the city, while this level of targeting, all of us understand, and we can tell our agencies to do, what the trick that in the agencies is the interest-based targeting. Facebook has extremely finicky, extremely sensitive filters for interest-based targeting. And those combinations we have to get correct along with the call to action on social media. So we have done experiments, or as we call it in digital marketing, A/B testing in the past, where we have put up the same creative, the same audience to the same interest targeting. The only thing we have changed is the call to action. One action takes you to fill a form on Facebook, the other action takes you to a landing page, the third action will take you to a WhatsApp, right? All three have given different kind of results. So it's extremely important when we come to social media targeting to have our interest defined, done very sharply, because that affects the audience we are reaching, and to be able to figure out what kind of creative hits home with this audience, what kind of call to action hits home with this audience. Which honestly, right now, a lot of digital agencies, this is the the nuts and bolts of what their guys sit and do every day. But that's really, like they say, the devil is in the details. So that's really where it lies.
Okay, so we have it. Thank you, Pasna. The another question is from 80. We have a project at licensing stage and it is located between Daisar and Kandivali. What is the correct time to initiate the digital activities? Hello. Chaitanya, you are mute.
Oh, sorry. My bad. So I'm saying that, so what is the right time to start the digital activity? Again, as I said, right, I think in terms of the time which you would want your sales to kick in. For example, I'm just giving an example, right? If let's say DLF decides कि जब मैं बनाऊंगा उसके बाद घर बेचूंगा, that's a very different philosophy. Now again, I'm looking at one project, I'm looking at a brand in totality which will have multiple projects. So digital initiative है, let me just look at कि मुझे खाली specific project की बात करनी है, कि उस project की activity, digital activity मुझे कब चालू करनी है. And the answer would lie in terms of maybe at least 3 months before you would even want to launch the project. At least 3 months before, if not more.
Correct.
If you want to get it right, because you, and that's what people are now really understanding. Worked 15 years with developers, I have never found so much interest in marketing ever, because that was never a subject of a concern at that point in time. Customer engagement, now being a buyer's market or a digital world में बेचना है माल, you have no option but to see कि boss मेरा digital presence and eminence कितना है. So suddenly content becomes important. मैं कहाँ content दे रहा हूँ, क्या content दे रहा हूँ, मैं blogs में present हूँ या नहीं present हूँ, मैं aggregator website में present हूँ कि नहीं present हूँ. Am I really using short videos, short GIFs to really create that buzz in the market? So in my mind, 3 months before you even think of launching the project is what you should definitely start focusing on digital activity.
Okay.
Because digital activity is not a switch on or off, because उसमें बहुत सारा preparation and work would go into it. A lot of developers spend an aggressive amount of thinking and action, because as I said, digital is, आज हमने खाली digital marketing की बात करी है, website की बात करी. not talked about in terms of digital for channel partners. This is again a completely different animal. And I think that's where आज की डेट में आप लॉन्च करते हो तो एक्टिवेशन से पहले 6 से 8 हफ्ता लेते हो. मुझे मार्केट को गर्म करना है उसके लिए. That's what the time which you spend, and
Correct.
slightly more is what you will require before you initiate the digital activation. That's what I would respond to. You're passing or saying something.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we talked about brands and brand voice a lot earlier on. So irrespective of what stage your projects are in or whether you have a few pipeline, this is something you should invest in agnostic of your project status. Because to find your brand voice is essentially for you as to step forward, put out your vision for what you want your company to be, articulate that in a way that will connect with your end audience and create that brand architecture. So there is no better time than now to do it, and that needs to be done irrespective of project stages.
Yeah. So I think just to ask once again, Chaitanya, when you say 3 months, is it for the brand who's already in the digital presence, or is it for the fresher one? So let's say if someone is not at all into the digital market, and what is for them then?
Let me just थोड़ा सा मैं steps को break करता हूँ. First of all, I was talking about chai as a, even let's say I take a Lodha, Godrej, Kalpataru, whatever company you take an example. आज मैं नया project launch करता हूँ. 3 months before, if I want to, at -2 to 3 months is their preparation will start, right from content, market research, creating those digital interventions. Because digital, as I said, right, अगर आपको डिजिटल मीडिया पे जाना है, आपको पूरी स्ट्रैटेजी बनानी पड़ेगी, कंटेंट बनाना पड़ेगा, कैलेंडर बनाना पड़ेगा, एजेंसीज ऑनबोर्ड करनी पड़ेगी. So there are a lot of things which needs to be done. And as I said, digital is not only for marketing, but it's also for channel partners as well. So, and more important thing is, there are some questions which I'll ask, right? अगर मैं को, let's say I'm assuming it's an existing company, it's just a new project which I'm launching in. Have I done my visioning, or the value proposition of my project is ready or not? Have I done, do I really know what I'm going to sell, what is going to sell in the market, what customers are really looking at? If I've done that research, 2 to 3 months before is absolutely fine. If you've not done that research, I think the time is now to do that.
Got it. I got it. Thank you. So the next one is Mr. Jailesh Dalal is asking for contacts. Mr. Dalal will send you the details to contact them. Okay. I think Chaitanya, Upasna, you were great here. We have done with the questions out here. One thing I would like to ask you all right on from my front is that, so today customer expect the work status has to be there online.
Yeah.
The work progress has to be online. Can you guide the people how this can be done out here?
Many ways. So I think so today I can give an example. जहाँ पर I'm talking to a developer, जहाँ पर online feed जाती है. So the people can actually just look at what is happening on the site. People are now talking to say कि जब मेरा flat बन जाता है, मैं flat के अंदर का भी walkthrough आपको दे सकता हूँ. Not reached yet, but today online feed from the site is anyways going as a part of the link. Second is it can be as symbolic as that. So as I said, right, many a times developer tend to communicate with your customer only when the payment is there. अगर subvention में है तो फिर बात भी नहीं करेंगे. So point is, my slab जैसे complete होते हैं, जब project की status जैसे complete होती है, at minimum we can start informing them. So my suggestion would be, it's a very simple thing, doesn't cost anything. Before you are going to raise the payment, if you can inform the customer, my slab is about to get casted. Congratulations, you're coming closer to your home. It's only maybe 3 months away, 6 months away, and so on and so forth. I think small messages, small connect make a significant difference. But if you're not, I'm not talking about anyone in a particular year, but I'm talking in general what we have experienced, even as a customer for that matter. So I clearly see, I think the engagement with the customer today is far more important. So today you can even give an online feed of the project status coming in. Second, you can give in the form of a pictorial example in terms of how my building is getting completed. Third, you can even start giving those pointers saying that where the communication is happening. Now this can happen through even emails. A more sophisticated version is having a customer portal. यहाँ पर customer has a platform, I can log in, I can see क्या demand आपने raise करी है, कितना मैंने उसका payment किया है, उसका ledger देख सकता हूँ, मैं complaint raise कर सकता हूँ, मैं अपना project का status check कर सकता हूँ, मुझे किसी को refer करना है, मैं refer कर सकता हूँ. I'll give an example. I think if you look at a lot of developers, I've seen developers having 10% to 35% of the sales happening to referrals. अगर आपकी ब्रांड स्ट्रांग हो जाती है, इट्स ओनली अ मैटर ऑफ टाइम. इफ यू डोंट इन्वेस्ट नाउ, इट विल नेवर कम. इट्स नॉट दैट कि अभी तक नहीं थी मेरी बनेगी नहीं. इट्स नॉट दैट ओनली मर्सिडीज इज द ब्रांड, राइट? Even Tata Nano created a brand, Maruti created a brand, and so on and so forth. So each brand has its own statement, own vision, own positioning. So its point is that how do you create that voice? How do you communicate that? That is extremely, extremely critical. So today, if you are able to create that platform where customers can engage with you, I think it gives you a huge fillip. So referral की बात कर रहा था 10% to 35%. यहाँ पर मेरी cost of acquisition is peanuts. अगर आज आप आपके चैनल पार्टनर को 2%, 3%, 4% आप देते हो आपकी सेल का, ऊपर से 2% आप वेबसाइट पे मार्केटिंग में खर्चा करते हो, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन इज एनीथिंग बिटवीन 5 to 7%. Cost of referral is what? Maybe 1%. And more important than that, you are creating advocates and brands in the market. Well, in my mind, if you are not investing in your customers, you are doing disservice to your own self. आप अपना बिजनेस खुद ही कम कर रहे हो. Because as I'll tell you, right, it's not that you have to be, you don't have to be Mercedes everywhere. I'm just giving an example just to drive the point home. It's about, if people have bought with you, they would have associated something with you. There would have been need which you would have addressed. And there might be happy customers, there will be very unhappy customers as well. You can't change the past, but you can change the future. So my request is, look at how can I leverage the power of happy customers, and what can I do next to create that unhappy customer as small as possible. I will never be able to make it zero. You can never make an unhappy customer base zero. I can actually aim at 90% happy customers. And if you have that base already and you're not having a very strong referral engine, probably anyways, I don't know how much sales, how much crores you have lost already in the market.
Correct. So I understand the viewers, it is the time of digital world. And if you're already doing it well and good, you can just upgrade yourself. If you're not, then I think we should start this. And this is how you can create a mask, fetching mask for your sales. I think that's how it is easy for us. And I believe digital is much more cheaper than your outdoor media. So I don't think we will have a problem to shift, from an outdoor to a digital world. So Chaitanya, thanks a lot. I think let me check if there are more questions. Okay, so I think we are done with the questions here. If you can, before we end, if you can just give one pick to these developers post-COVID. So now everyone is having three major problems. One is licensing, which is correlated to your labors, which is correlated to your sales. So when we talk about sales out here, one pick which can be helpful for the viewers out here that they should start doing right now, irrespective of number of projects they have, irrespective of what brand they are, irrespective of what location they are located into. Please, over to you, Chaitanya.
Sorry, Nikunj, I missed your question. I'm sorry. But have you said?
So one pick from the session, which a developers out here can take from you right now.
Okay. So in my mind, I think COVID ka matlab hai, it's a very uncertain environment. We have a challenge. We don't know when customers will come, when my labors will come. And I think we have seen enough webinars from the policymakers, not much we can expect out of it. Which means that the ball is lying largely in our court. I would say the one thing which I would want all the developers to really look at is customer is extremely important, which means customer se engage karna is the key. And I'm saying customer, I'm looking at three customers here. Mera employee bhi mera customer hai, mera channel partner mera customer hai, aur mera end customer mera customer. How do I engage with three of them? And my answer is simple. I think the only way you can scale up these conversations is through digital. So, and again, point is, I think कितने लोग invest कर चुके होते हैं, मतलब कुछ मिला नहीं मुझे. Again, I'm saying that the thought which you need to apply is, जो मैंने लगाया है पैसा, am I putting the right money after good money after good money? Am I really unlocking the benefits? So if you look at the first thing which Upasana talked about, and the things, how can we actually unlock the value of my current investment? जो मेरी वेबसाइट बनी है, जो मेरा CRM बना है, जो मेरा डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म है, क्या मैं उस पर एटलीस्ट फोकस करके नया डालना है, वो बात की बात है. चलो वर्चुअल टूर नहीं डालना है, महंगा है, मत डालो. but at least जो website बनी उसमें कुछ minor changes करके उसको तो effective बनाओ. How can I, if customer is spending 1 minute on my website, can I make him to spend 2 minutes on my website? If I'm getting 100 visitors on my website, can I make it 200 visitors on the website? Can I make more customers fill up my form, increase my lead generation? If there are only 10 people talking about me on the Facebook, can I actually create a battery of people talking about my brand? And digital is, so I'm again talking to Nikunj, I think, do not compare with a hoarding or a newspaper ad to digital. Digital can be very cost effective or very expensive as well. The point is, for a long time I mentioned that it will make you profitable. Do not try and say कि digital is not like a magic wand कि आज मैंने कुछ लगाया कल मुझे suddenly sales आनी शुरू हो जाएगी. Today I think if you look at almost large developers in India today, developers with have got large number of portfolio, they've heavily invested in digital and marketing, heavily invested in tools and assets. And I have personally worked with 30 developers, and amount of efficiencies which they have been able to unlock, amount of customer gains they have been able to do is unparalleled. I think they would not have that kind of a efficiencies built in. I think they would struggle. And let me also tell you, I think I'm talking about, we are working currently with a pretty young developer, probably having less than 4 sites today, and amount of focus which they have put on digital is unparalleled, and amount of gains what they've got. I'm about to start with one developer, one project, and they've clearly said, boss, अगर मैं digital पे invest नहीं करूंगा, I can't survive. You clearly see, आज आप physical sales से online sales पर आ गए हो. If you look at Tata Homes, Godrej Realty, they have all published. That's the reason I can talk about that. They did so much EOI, so much of closures. That was all through digital. Now there will be a huge cancellation also which will happen, but still use that platform to at least accelerate sales, remain in the market. Otherwise, the market se bahar ho.
Correct. I think there is one. Okay, so Mr. Samir Jani is asking for the website details. So viewers, what we will do is we will give you the website details and the contact details. MSDA is always happy to connect you with ENY whenever you all need them. So I think we'll be able to do that for you.
I have a
So
last
can I request one thing? Is there a survey link which has been put in by Upasana on the chat? If we can request all of you to please fill it, will really help us.
Yeah, there's a feedback form out there on the chat. Viewers, there's a request. Please go on your chat, and there's a link out there from Upasana, and we would request you to just give a feedback, and you might also get connected with them.
Nikunj, we can also share the link on the group, so all those who have left, they can probably fill the link as well. And we'll share the recording also of this presentation. So members who have not been able to make it today can take a look at it and probably can give their feedback as well.
Correct. I think we are done with the questions here, Chaitanya and Upasana. And you had okay, 1 second. I'm so sorry. There's one more. Okay, there is a comment from Mr. Dalal. Chaitanya and Upasana, your inputs have given us a lot of insights and clarity. Thanks a lot for today. Okay, so MSDA here is, thank you very much for this session, Mr. Chaitanya and Ms. Upasana. You have given good amount of insight today. And I would hand over to Mr. Kunal for the Mr. Kunal, please.
So, Mr. Chaitanya, it was pretty new, if I will say. It's my personal opinion that when you think about developers as promoters, not many developers in the past have really concentrated on the marketing, especially small and mid-sized developers. But now, what you rightly said, that the time has come wherein we have to do that. There is no other way out. So on that note, I would like to really thank your team for putting up such an insightful and such a knowledgeable presentation. And we would love if you can have the presentation as well for the reference of our members and our attendees.
Sure.
So we thank you so much, Mr. Chaitanya and Upasana, for your presentation. MSDA really thanks you.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Kunal, Nikunj, Karan, and everyone from MSDA. Real privilege and honor, and we sincerely hope that it was valuable to you, and hope to remain connected with you people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.